Good evening, everyone. This is the regularly scheduled City Council meeting. Today is May 5th. Could we all please rise and begin the meeting with a prayer? Dear God, today as the session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. Can we now please salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Counsel Martin. Here. Counsel Mercier. Counsel Milanazzo. Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Mayor Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Kennedy.
Here.
Counsel Leahy.
Here.
7 present.
If there's no objection, I'd like to offer a moment of silence and darken chambers for the father of Councilor Jim Milanazzo, Alphonse L. Milanazzo, and I know other members want to speak on it on behalf of the council. Alphonse L. Milanazzo died this past week, May 1st, at Mass General Hospital. He was 87 years old and a well-known resident of the Belvedere section of the city. He was the beloved husband of Mary Jane Bakey Milanazzo, with whom he would have celebrated 63 years of marriage this coming June 7th. Al was born in Lowell, Massachusetts, June 7th, 1927, the son of the late Luigi and late Maria Ferrera Milanazzo. He attended Lowell schools and was a graduate of Lowell High School, the class of 1945. Al was a veteran of World War II. He was enlisted in the U.S. Navy at the age of 17 years old. And he proudly served as a seaman, first class aboard the Gearing-class destroyer USS William M. Wood, prior to his honorable discharge in 1948. He was an active and lifelong member of the Immaculate Conception Church. He was a communicant, and he dedicated countless hours in this community to charitable work throughout his entire life for many groups in and around the greater Lowell community. Al will probably be best known as a kind and a compassionate man. Among his many activities and interests, he was a member of the BPOE, the Elks, number 87. He was a member of the East End Social Club, the Italian American Club, the Lowell Rotary Club, where he was a recipient of the prestigious Paul Harris Fellow Award. He was also active in the Immaculate Conception Bowling League. Al loved the beach at Northampton. He loved dancing, cribbage, and traveling with his family. On behalf of his family, we extend on behalf of the council to his family, we extend our sincere condolences to him and his family. Chair would like to recognize Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. I just want to make a statement in the sense that I can recall that even though Mr. Milanazzo did not hold political office, over the years, his people valued his opinion on various matters, especially when it came to the city and the quality of life in that city. His opinions were often sought after, and I think that's should be part of the memory that we have of Mr. Milanazzo, that he also was a citizen very much involved in life of the community. Thank you.
So to our colleague, Councilor Milanazzo, we wish our best. We know how close he was with his father, and we will be with him at all time. Council Martin, then Council Belanger.
Sure. I would just add briefly that Mr. Milanazzo was very and justifiably proud of his family, his military service, and his city. And I know he was a strong contributor to all of those. So he lived a model life and will be truly missed.
Councilor Belanger. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo the comments of my colleagues that I did not have the luxury of knowing Mr. Malinazzo all that well, but on top of being a good family man and an absolute gentleman, he was a hero. He served in the Pacific in World War II and saw heavy combat, and he's part of the greatest generation, and I think that should be highly recognized. His service to his country is unprecedented. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Could we all please rise for a moment of silence? And could we darken the chambers? May you rest in peace. Moving on to the next section of the agenda, we have the first item. We have the city clerk. We have minutes of the city council meeting of April 28th. On the we have minutes from the youth services subcommittee on April 28th as well. Entertain a motion to accept and place on file by Councilor Samaras, second by Councilor Rourke. For discussion, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. That concludes the city clerk section. We'll move on to the city auditor. We have a communication regarding the external audit contract. Chair would like to recognize, any questions for the auditor on this? Madam Auditor, brief explanation.
Yeah, to just kind of go over what I discussed in the memo. We went out for the audit contract this year. I know that was something that the council had desired as well, and I agree that it's in the best interest of the city to go out for bid for service contracts on occasion. And we went out for contract. We did get 4 respondents. 3 of them were very strong. We brought all 3 of those in for interviews. As I said in my memo, I had Jay Lang from the school department on the team, as well as Karen O'Bairn, my assistant auditor. We interviewed the 3 respondents, and all 3 of us were in unanimous agreement immediately following the interviews that the current auditor should retain the contract. They all had very comparable value of service. The price between the 3 was quite different. And so as far as comparing both the value and the price, our current auditors were far and above the rest. So in addition to them actually lowering our audit service fee from what it was in years past, we're also going to be doing a more robust set of financial statements called a comprehensive annual financial reports. And we're actually going to be submitting it to the GASB to get, they have a certificate of excellence. So we're going to try and submit that and get the certificate of excellence from them. This can be a very beneficial thing for the city, especially when we're going out for debt and getting our bond ratings. Having the full CAFR is definitely, kind of puts you in the big leagues and is a very positive step for the city to move towards.
Okay, thank you, Madam Auditor, excuse me. Further discussion on this communication? I just want to just state real briefly that I think this goes to show that sending this out to bid, whether we retain the existing auditor or not, has benefits, knowing that we're getting more service for less cost. And I want to thank and congratulate you. And I know Councilor Kennedy was a big proponent of this, so I think it speaks volumes to going through the process. Councilor Martin.
Yeah, I just say good work and congratulations to the auditor. So I'll look forward to this sort of enhanced reporting, and hopefully that keeps us, progressing where the bond agencies like to see us. So thank you.
For discussion, entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress and place on file by Councilor Kennedy, second by Councilor Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed? Motion passes. Report is accepted and placed on file. Moving on to, it's not 7 o'clock, so we'll skip over the public hearings. We will go to communications from the city manager. We have motion responses, A, B, C, and D. So why don't we go start with motion A, discussion concerns. Councilor Belanger, motion A.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to thank the manager for his timely response on this. Very important piece, potentially in the downtown area. So we all are keeping our fingers crossed on this. We know we had to develop an arrangement that did not work out for whatever reason, but the city of Lowell and the administration kept the ball rolling. And it's good news to hear that Lowell 5 is in negotiations, and a potential developer is currently doing their due diligence and lining up financing to hopefully do a very similar project right on that parcel, which we all know would be very well received. So, Mr. Manager, I just ask to you that, and I know you will, that your office keep in contact, frequently reaching out, whatever the city can do to expedite and finalize this deal. Please let them know we're at their disposal, whatever we can do. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on motion A? Seeing none, moving on to motion B. Repairs to Tewksbury portion of Clark Road. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just want to thank the manager. That got done very quickly, and they did a nice job. They fixed both sides of the road, and it's significantly better than it has been, so thank you.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion on motion B. Motion C, left turn signal onto French Street pedestrian crossing. Seeing none.
No, just one.
Oh, Council Leahy.
Sure. Is the traffic engineer here? Okay. I had a couple questions if I could.
Name, could you just give us your name for the record, please? And so we know who you are, too.
Yes, sir. My name is Nicholas Bosnetto. I'm the city's transportation engineer.
Thank you. I read the report, and I understand you're going to do a study, but will there be a potential left-hand turn at French Street off of Bridge Street?
I just came from doing a turning movement count there just right now. Once I run the numbers, we'll see what we can do. There's definitely some work that needs to be done on that signal. I just noticed, just sitting there and watching it, there's definitely there's a phase that doesn't belong in there. Whether we add a protected left turn, meaning you get the green arrow and traffic is not coming south, that will be, we have to run the numbers and see if that would be beneficial.
Okay, all right. I just wasn't sure by reading the report if that was in play, but it is, so.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
all
sir.
right. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Council Rook?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One more question for the traffic engineer, if possible. So the motion that Councilor Murphy had filed last week, so you do see the problem where you have a green light, and then at the same time, the pedestrian signal is on as well?
Yes, right now the lights are called concurrent facing, meaning the pedestrians have the walk signal at the same time that the traffic has the green light. We're going to look at changing that over to an exclusive phase, meaning the pedestrians get, like we do here at Dutton and Merrimack, where all the lights for the pedestrians allow them to walk, and then all traffic is stopped. That way you have no conflicts between vehicles. But I have to look at it and make sure that that doesn't just throw off the system. We have to make sure the traffic flows, but that, I will definitely be looking at that.
And do we know how long the time is if someone's walking and they hit the button to be able to cross? The time from when someone hits that button to the time the light actually goes to a pedestrian signal to walk?
It all depends on the signal, what the facing is. Each signal is different. So each signal has different number of phases, and also it also has a different duration for the phases, meaning each signal gets different amount of green light, let's say. So the amount of time you have to wait for the pedestrian crossing is different for each one.
What would be the longest amount of time you have to wait at any point?
I couldn't tell you that right now. I know the one I just looked at, you have to wait approximately 35, 40 seconds, which seems like a lot of time when you're standing there.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a couple of more like minutes instead of seconds, you know. So is it a possibility you wait 2 or 3 minutes before a light would turn for a pedestrian to cross?
If It could be a possibility. I have to look at each signal and get the phasing for each signal.
Yeah,
from
if
the
you could do that in the
candidates.
report, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, that will be all part of this study. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the engineer? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to motion, response, explanation of fire department overtime costs. Questions, concerns, issues? Seeing none, entertain a motion to accept,
Mayor Elliott,
I'm sorry, Councilor Samaras?
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for this report. It does talk about, what the reasons for the overtime. But has the chief offered any programs to reduce the overtime, such as incentive programs or new approaches that will also ensure the safety of our firemen?
Chief?
Well, Counselor, the only change really that's been made is, as you know, the policy to begin closing 2 fire companies every shift, and that will greatly reduce the amount of overtime spent. Other than that, there really is not much incentive. Is that what you asked?
I mean, it's not, that's not- what I've asked is, it is difficult, but there's always not one way to do something. And in a sense, I'm actually bothered by the closing of companies because it means less people to respond to a serious fire, things like that. But I know it's something that can be worked and can be handled. But I'm also looking at, have you taken a look at the overall fire department and looked at why sick leave does occur or certain things do occur? Many programs have been developed over the years in the school department. Every department has, at one time, has had to do something to curtail overtime in one way or the other. So I'm just asking to see if down the road there could be either some type of incentive program or some type of program or some reevaluation of what you have to cut costs.
Right. Well, I don't believe that sick leave is the main driving force behind the overtime. As the manager mentioned at the last subcommittee meeting, that we are looking at the sick leave policies and kind of buckling down a little bit to, I've always brought people in after a certain number of sick leaves, but certainly we can take a look at that again, and we require doctor's notes after a certain amount of absences.
I understand that, and that's something that, as management, you have to do. But I'm also looking for a positive approach to it. By the development of some type of incentive or, meeting with your fire department and having them look at the overall process and what could they do to guarantee, one, that they're safe, that the city's safe, but at the same time, ways of cutting down costs.
All right. I know where you're going with this. I think the reality is that the best answer is increased staffing, either a combination of additional firefighters to the complement of men on the department, and coupled with some combination of overtime expenditure. I don't know if you're thinking comp time or something like that, but that all has a cost to bear at the end of everything.
It's all of the above, but I'm just saying, at this point, I want to make sure that, all of us want to make sure that our city is safe, and because of shortages of monies, that we don't do things that curtail services. But there's always a different way of handling things, and I'm just saying, reaching to all depths to say, okay, what can we do? We know the fire trucks go attend with ambulance service and things like that. I'm not saying to do any of that. I'm just saying a look at everything that the department does, again, based on safety, and then looking at whether it's a real incentive plan can be developed, a positive approach, or something that just has been missed in the past.
Right. Yeah.
A review is all I'm asking.
Yep, and I'm certainly not opposed to a, top to bottom review of the entire department and our response procedures, and we can sit down with the union, and, we can take a look at all our response.
I think you've heard over the years, let's do a zero-based budget or do this type of a budget approach. Those are just, they're tools, not necessarily the right type of tools. But I think you and the fire officers themselves have a better idea as to what can be done. I'm just saying, can those things be explored?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
Set? Council Rourke.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, any update on the grant that we applied for 12 extra firefighters?
We haven't heard anything as of yet. And
Right.
like I mentioned before, once they start the awards, and they already, I'm not sure if they've started the SAFER, that's the staffing grant. I know they've done the equipment, but they make the awards weekly once it gets started, and I don't think that's begun yet.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Council. Further discussion? Council Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, you're leaving in a couple of weeks, so I'm not sure how far the whole thing, how much of this is worthwhile. But I thought that a few meetings ago, when we first came to talk about the overtime, that you said that one of the reasons for the overtime spiking the way it did was because sick leave spiked by, I don't know if it was 40%, but by some significant amount. But this evening, you're saying that you don't think that the sick leave is a factor in the overtime. Is that correct?
No, I don't deny that it's a factor. I don't think it's the primary factor, and I really was never saying that it was sick leave. My belief is that it was the city's attempt to close only one fire company. That coupled with the winter that we had.
And the winter would be because of when there was a state of emergency?
The extra staffing, right, yep.
Okay. So if the overtime, which went up over $300,000, you must have known or anticipated that the overtime was going to go up when the staffing was changed, right? Or is that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I followed it very closely for the entire fiscal year, as you can see in the report. I mean, I looked at it every week. The city manager, the CFO were apprised weekly of where we were with the overtime spending.
And so when it became evident that there was going to be a problem, that there was not going to be anywhere near enough money, why didn't you do something about it then? Or other than to just say, listen, we needed $300,000 for it?
Well, as I mentioned, I had discussions with the manager. We talked about whether we close one company or two companies, and the direction I was giving was that we would keep closing one company until just recently, in late March, the decision was made to close two.
Okay. Okay, and that alone you think is what, so in other words, if we do the same thing for the next fiscal year, we should anticipate that the overtime will be over $1 million again?
Yes, yes. If we only closed one fire company throughout the fiscal year, I have no doubt it would be over $1 million.
Okay, and so which is the smarter thing to do financially? Is it to pay the overtime or to close the station? Which,
Smarter financially or fire
Financially.
safety?
financially?
Pay the overtime. I mean, if you're asking me, do I think the best solution is closing an extra fire company, the answer is no.
Okay.
Right. I mean, I know it's costly. I know what the figures are, but, I mean, those are kind of the choices. We pay the overtime or we have less fire coverage.
Okay. I guess my last question is, back when we were doing the budget last year, wouldn't you have known, or were you not able to anticipate that the overtime was going to go up as much as it did?
Well, the budget did get increased a little bit, I think, and no, I thought it would go up. At the time, there was discussion of whether we would be adding positions to the department, so if we were going to do that, it wouldn't require as much overtime, so.
Okay, okay, thanks.
Mr. Manager?
I think it's, I've said it before, but I think it's important to note is that when we close a company, that doesn't mean we're closing a station. Is that there are many stations in the city that have multiple companies. So if we close one company, there's still a station open. So I think that's important to point out for the public also.
If there's no objection, Chief, I just have if there's no objection from my colleagues, I just have a question on the attachment on the fire response. On attachment A, Chief, I see, and I think this is a good thing, the number of building fires responses that the fire department has had to respond to is continues to see a decline, which means better building code, better fire prevention. Same thing, actually, in almost all categories, with the exception of vehicle fires. But my question is, I see a significant increase in the number of responses, EMS calls. Can you explain that area? Because that is over half the number of calls that the fire department responds to.
Right. I think you'll find in any fire department, their medical aid calls are anywhere from 50 to 60% of the total runs. These are calls that we respond to with the ambulance. Every fire truck has a defibrillator. We're spread out throughout the city, so in most instances, we're going to get to a medical call first before
Okay.
the ambulance.
Okay,
So, I mean, we have a large number of the department of trained paramedics. As you know, we now carry the Narcan and the EpiPens, and as I said, they have the defibrillators, so,
right.
you know, it only makes sense, certainly in the more serious medical calls, heart attacks, strokes, that type of thing. We carry O2, so.
And these response calls, they don't compromise any fire safety, right?
Well, no, I mean, it is an on-duty apparatus that is responding. It would be the closest engine company, and then if they're not around, the closest company. So
Okay.
it is a fire truck with 3 members responding to the medical aid call.
Okay, thank you. And one of these calls, I'm sure you're not, one of these line items that you're not too, I'm sure not too happy with, are the number of total false calls, malicious calls or other false calls. That's a pretty
Right, well,
substantial number,
the
too.
malicious calls are somebody calling in a false alarm or pulling a false alarm intentionally.
Yep.
As you can see, the largest number of false calls are probably trouble with the system,
Oh,
maybe a
okay.
faulty smoke detector, trip
that
the
what those
system, requires a response. According to the Mass Fire Incident Reporting System, that goes in as a false alarm, but it's not what we think of, as a malicious, intentional false
Oh,
alarm.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Further discussion on this motion response? Seeing none, entertain a motion to accept the motion responses from the city manager, accept them and place on file. Motion by Council Leahy, second by Council Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. Next item, I'm sorry, it's 7 o'clock. We'll move into the advertised public hearing. We have one public hearing tonight under general public hearing. This is an ordinance to amend Chapter 266-56 regarding vehicles and traffic on Broadway and Dutton Street. Code of Ordinances, let me just read the locations. This is regarding parking prohibited on certain streets at certain times. Broadway Street South, as well as both on Broadway Street South, beginning at a point 20 feet west of westerly curb line on Dutton Street, running the distance of 206 feet on West Broadway. We'll now now open this portion of the public hearing for anyone who is wishing to speak in favor. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance change? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Now open up this part of the public hearing for anyone wishing to speak in opposition. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, seeing none, we will also close that portion of the public hearing. What is the wish of the body?
Move approval.
Move approval by Councilor O'Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion on this item? Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Milonazo. Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 7 yeas.
7 yeas, that concludes the general public hearing section. We'll revert back to the regular part of the agenda. We have communications. City manager requests out-of-state travel. We have one for the Lowell Fire Department. Motion to approve by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy. Discussion on this item? Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Milonazo. Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
7 yeas.
7 yeas, motion passes. We'll move on to section 5.1. We have votes from the city manager. The first vote is for a licensing agreement for Century Pharmacy at 937 Gorham Street. This is for an overhanging awning and sign. And entertain a motion to waive the full reading. It's quite lengthy. By Counsel Kennedy, seconded by Counsel Belanger. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion passes. The second reading by title. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote. This is to authorize the city manager to enter into a license agreement with Century Pharmacy Incorporated to encroach upon the City of Lowell property at 937 Gorham Street, Lowell, Massachusetts. Questions, discussion on this item? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve by Counsel Belanger, seconded by Counsel Kennedy. Discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Milonazo. Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
That's 7 yeas.
Okay, move on to still votes under the city manager. We have 5.2. We have a vote. This requires 2 readings. First reading will be by title vote authorizing the city manager to execute easement to Klaus Romberg and Anita Romberg across city-owned parcel on Fairview Street. And this has been before the council, so this is pretty lengthy as well. Entertain a motion to waive this full reading by Counsel Martin, seconded by Counsel Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Second reading. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Council is a vote authorizing the city manager to execute an access easement from the City of Lowell to Class D Romberg and Anita Romberg across a parcel of city-owned property on Fairview Street.
Yeah, there are some registered speakers.
We have some individuals, residents registered to speak. Mr. Clerk?
Ruth Murray.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Ruth Murray. I live at 121 Star Avenue, which is diametrically opposite the property requesting the easement. We've mentioned this before, that our concern is that the homeowner is planning to build a second property on this lot, which is why he's requesting the easement. I was very happy, like everyone else here, when the snow melted, because I was able to go and remind myself that there is actually an existing gate between the property and the city-owned land, which is vastly overgrown but has never been maintained. And I'm sure nobody, either the city or any of us on the street, would be unhappy if the homeowner chose to clear it and get access for landscaping purposes or harmless purposes, which they'd stated. We understand that there's a situation where previous other homeowners have requested similar easement considerations. We would comment that these were done because they represented the sole access to their properties, whereas this property has over 200 feet of frontage, and frankly, you could drive a fleet of buses through there to get to that yard. So that seems a thin request. We also understand, reading the paperwork, that other city boards would be involved in development. Please excuse me, but I don't have a huge amount of confidence in some of the building city boards, having seen some developments around the city where I've wondered, what do the poor neighbors think of that building looming over them? So we have concerns that we wouldn't be given the opportunity to protest. The notification of this easement was only actually notified one particular homeowner, and that didn't even include the abutter, that this was in process. So we're not confident we get notification of other processes. Our concerns, as we've stated before, revolve around practical things like the drainage problems in the area, privacy issues, personal property values, and if the council was to believe they have no choice to approve this easement, we would request that they would consider adding some wording to the agreement for this to enforce notification for the existing neighboring property owners to be notified of any excavation work that was to be done or any construction work that's to be done, so that we'd have the opportunity to request environmental studies, property studies. I think that's everything I have. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk?
Alice Hassey.
Good evening. My name is Alice Hassey. I live on 105 Star Avenue in Lowell. My property abuts Fairview Street on one side, boundary line, and abuts the Rombergs' property in question on the rear boundary line. The reason for my objection to the Rombergs' easement request, I understand it's just for an easement request, but it is our understanding as their neighbors that it is to build on that land. And the original owners of my house were told by the builder and owner of the land that the lot behind the property of my property would not be developed, and this was a determining factor in my decision to purchase this home. Most importantly is the issue regarding drainage. Our properties are on the side of a fairly steep incline, and anyone building a home on their property is most likely going to have to cut into the side of the hill, which will displace the current drainage pattern and greatly negatively impact my home as well as others. If approved, the builders will make sure the house being built is not impacted by water issues and greatly cause issues for my home. Between the increase in density of homes surrounding my property and any impact regarding water issues, this will in turn significantly devalue my home as well as others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's it. That concludes registered speakers. Thoughts? Was it wish of the body, Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This afternoon, prior to getting elected, I was on the Board of Appeals for a number of years, and it gives me great experience for a vote such as this. So I did do a drive-by site visit to the property this afternoon, and I'm afraid I can't support anything that would be for the purpose of developing a home on this parcel, quite frankly. I mean, I don't know the Rombergs. I'm sure they're very nice residents of the city. I mean, if they wanted to get better access to their home or enhance green space, I would be all in favor for that. But I just don't support having a home built on this parcel. I have concerns with the topography of the land. I think it brings several challenges to that lot. And I just don't think it's fair to the neighborhood. I think it's crammed in there, and this is something that we're trying to fight in all neighborhoods throughout the city. Doesn't matter where it is. But unfortunately, I do not support the easement. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. For the discussion, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, the manager. Is there anybody from engineering here tonight? From the engineering department?
No.
Okay. 'Cause just the only question I have is curiosity of, why does this property need an easement where other properties in neighborhoods in the city that are very much affected by drainage and water, houses were just put up and built when the city had no power to stop. The example we all know of is Alma Street, where they put a house on stilts, and supposedly there's another one going up there as well. So why is that property not being affected? And then, there's something here where an easement is required.
My understanding is we had taken this property some time ago for non-payment of taxes, so we actually own the property. So in order to get access over it, you need an easement from the city to gain access to the lot.
And so in those other properties, it doesn't qualify, right?
Correct, because we hadn't taken it for we don't own the property, so they don't have to get an easement. But in this particular case, we own that property, and that's why they have to get an easement.
All right, thank you.
Further discussion, questions? The city manager? What is the wish of the body?
Well,
Council Martin?
Based on, I guess I'm a little bit disappointed in the report, frankly. I mean, I understand Councilor Belanger's point of view, you know, at the Board of Appeals, and I get that we're just here to approve an easement, but, you know, the report says other residents have the benefit of similar easements. We don't know who they are. We don't know how many there are. We don't know where they are. There's no plan, there's no drawing. There's really no recommendation that I can see either, unless you're gonna read through between the lines. So, you know, I can appreciate that people have been down here twice now, so I don't think it's necessarily wise to seek a delay and have people come time after time if there's not gonna be an approval. But I think the people that spoke raised some good points, and I don't think, based on this information that we have, there's anything here to rebut their concerns. So I think based on this record that we have tonight and what was presented before, I don't support this either.
Thank you, Counsel. Counsel Leahy?
Thank you. I kind of have to agree. I've been by the parcel myself, and I know the neighborhood, and frankly, it doesn't seem out of the ordinary to build a house there, to be honest. But with the people that have come down, taken the time to come down, with the consideration of drainage and the fact that, you know, they were promised that because of the difficulty that there wouldn't be a home built behind them. So that's why I wouldn't support this, but, you know, honestly, it doesn't really look too far out of the norm, but consideration of the drainage and the promise that they wouldn't build, I think that that's significant, so I won't support it. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none, send a motion to deny, not to approve.
Well, isn't the vote's here to
Right.
grant an easement? I think
To
the
grant an
vote
easement.
should be yes or no to do that.
Okay. Yep, you're right. Thank you, Counselor. Motion by Counselor Kennedy?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager or maybe to the city solicitor, would it be appropriate and would it be worthwhile to have the vote be that we would grant the easement with a covenant that there would not be able to be a house built there? Did anybody think of doing that, and is that a good thing to do?
The petition, the petitioners aren't present tonight, and the petition that actually is before the council is a petition for a full easement. That answers, I mean, certainly you can grant easements with restrictions, whether an easement with restrictions is something that they would formally request and be satisfied with is a question that only they can answer, and they have not attended this evening. So all that is before the council right now is a full easement.
Right. However, it wouldn't be inappropriate to amend the vote to include the covenant, would it? I mean, you have, what's before us is to, a vote to have the city manager execute the easement. So if you could amend it to have the city manager execute the easement with a covenant in place that there would not be a house built there, right?
That's something that I think we would want to, if it were the wish of the council to take a look at that, I'd want to go back and take a look at that specific issue. Again, that was not what was requested, and that's not the vote that was prepared. It's not that you can't have an easement with restrictions, you can. It's just that, again, that's not what was asked for, not what was prepared, and before making those types of changes, I'd want to be able to take a look at it.
Okay. Does anybody know why the petitioner isn't here? It seems to me that the petitioner was here before at the previous meeting and also had an attorney with them at the previous meeting, and so, but nobody's here on their behalf this evening. And there's been no
Nobody's here on their
indication
behalf.
as to why? They just,
No?
okay. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Is there a motion on the floor?
I think the motion, I was just looking it up.
It's just this vote.
The putting of the question, putting the motion to a question. Excuse me, putting the question to a vote. So motion to put this to a vote by Council
Wait,
Rourke.
just-
Oh, I'm sorry,
I'm
do
sorry,
you want to vote?
yeah, I mean, just reading it, it just looks like it's a simple yes or a no.
Right.
So there's no, you know, so,
So someone can make a motion to proceed, or we can just make a motion to put this to a vote.
So moved.
So moved by Council Martin, second by Council Rourke to put this to a vote. Roll call.
Counsel Martin.
No.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Milonazo. Counsel Rourke.
no.
Counsel Samaras. Counsel Belanger.
No.
Mayor Elliott.
No.
Counsel Kennedy.
No.
Counsel Leahy.
No.
6 nays. Fails.
6 yeas, vote fails. We'll move on to the next section of the agenda. We have orders from the city manager. We have an order for a 60-day trial. First reading. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, City of Lowell, and City Councils, an order pursuant to Chapter 266 of the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, concerning Section 266-6 thereof, entitled Temporary Experimental Regulations. Temporary traffic regulations are hereby implemented for a period of 60 days. Motion to waive the second reading. Excuse me. This is not going to a public hearing. Entertain a motion to waive the full reading. This is relative to Central Street, beginning at 20 feet north, curb line of Walnut Street, and running northerly 20 feet along Central Street, 15-minute parking area. Motion to waive the full reading by Council Belanger, second by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion carries. Actually, that was a second reading. We already read this twice. Further discussion on this. This is, temporary experimental traffic regulations for 60 days. Questions? Roll call.
Need a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Motion. We had a motion by Council Belanger, second by Council Kennedy. Sorry.
Counsel Martin.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia. Counsel Milonazo. Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Mayor Elliott.
Yes.
Counsel Kennedy.
Yes.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
7 yeas.
Next, we have an ordinance from the city manager. This is an ordinance for quarterly traffic report. This needs to go to a public hearing. This will be a quarterly traffic report for 2015. Motion to refer this to a public hearing on May 19th by Council Leahy, second by Council Martin. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. There'll be a public hearing on May 19th at 7 p.m. We move on to next section, section 8.1. We have subcommittee reports. This evening there was a substance abuse subcommittee report. Chair recognizes the chairman of that subcommittee, Chairman Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did hold a substance abuse subcommittee this evening at 5 o'clock. It was attended by Frank Singleton, the Commissioner of the Health Department, from the Greater Lowell Health Alliance Organization, Kerry Detremont, Michelle Davis from Lowell General Hospital, which is two of our proud partners in this fight against opiate abuse. John Kelly from Trinity EMS was joined by several of his staff members. And Middlesex District Attorney Marion Ryan was on hand as well. It was a very productive, informative meeting, if you will, Mr. Mayor. Trinity EMS gave us a very detailed report that included this report the month of April, where overdoses are still averaging pretty much the same as they were the first 3 months of the calendar year, which is approximately 2.4 per day. Now, luckily, with the use of Narcan, that does not result, very seldomly results in a death, thank God. But nonetheless, this is still a growing epidemic that numbers are still climbing, not only in Lowell, but throughout the Commonwealth. And the District Attorney Ryan has really taken this fight in a very unilateral approach, where it's education, it's outreach, it's programs, it's beds. And speaking of which, we are working on a very enhanced system, if you will, right at Tewksbury State Hospital to include, in hopefully a couple of years, a 150-bed operation, which is long-term recovery, which is what we were lacking in the Commonwealth, where most programs are 30 days, some odd, and bang, you're almost right back out in the street, and your recidivism rate is very high to use drugs again. But other items which Councilor Rourke is very familiar with, the drug court that's in Lowell is very, very productive. That's doing very well. Statistics show that we've had approximately 30 to 40 participants in that program with a 0% recidivism rate. So that's great to see that that's working. So as this fight gets more advanced, we're finding out what's working and enhancing those programs and whatnot. So still got a long way to go. It's a constant problem. There's no overnight solution. It's going to involve a really united front effort from a lot of people, and we have that here in the city of Lowell. The district attorney reiterated that she's implementing throughout the Commonwealth what she calls the Lowell plan, and the good hard work that we're doing. An example of that would be how we recently, a few weeks ago, just banned synthetic drugs over the counter, which are rampant all over the Commonwealth, and she classified as a gateway drug, and I informed her that they are banned in the city of Lowell. So we are on the front lines on this within the city limits. Again, still a long ways to go, but there's a united effort and a very strong effort from a lot of different organizations here in the city to give these people help and get them on the road to recovery. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Good report. For discussion on this report? Seeing none, entertain a motion to accept the report as report of progress and place on file by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye. In the opposed, that motion passes. That concludes the subcommittee report section. Any other updates on subcommittees? Seeing none, we'll move on to Councilor Belanger.
I'm sorry, I just like to publicly thank, over the weekend, we had a downtown cleanup, and went very well. We did several hydrants and wrought iron gates and clean and sweeping and throwing mulch throughout, and that was, basically we have the Lowell High ROTC program to thank. The cadets were just fantastic. There was almost 100 of them from Kerouac Park to Merrimack Street to City Hall. And we're very, very lucky to have these kids. What they did was really, saved us a lot in resources, and I thank them on behalf of the council and the city, and we had a nice pizza party to finish up with, and I just want to give a publicly thank to these kids, and we're proud of them, and we're lucky to have them, Mr. Mayor, so it went very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Mr. Manager, I know the city participated in this. Anything to add? I think that's a well-deserved accolades, Councilor.
Yes, and I think we were able to paint a number of fire hydrants throughout the city, which I think is a great, great thing. But again, it was the concerted effort and the city with the help of those volunteers. I think it looks pretty darn good in downtown right now.
Thank you. Anything else on the subcommittee reports? Councilor Leahy?
Just on the downtown cleanup, I just wanted to add that I was downtown about 6 o'clock and you had the street sweepers out, so they did a great job preparing. They were out early, and I think they did all the major roads around. And then, again, I think there were 65 kids there with the city departments helping out, so it was a great job.
Great.
I just think Mr. McGovern should go around and check the fire hydrants that they're not painted shut. So maybe you could add that to your list.
Thank you. Along those lines, Mr. Manager, the city does look good. Can you, when will the street line painting begin? I know it has to be a certain temperature, but I know I've received a couple of questions about crosswalks, and I know will be forthcoming now that we finally get some nice weather.
It was too cold Friday night, but it is going to start soon. I will get an updated report for next week's city council meeting.
Just so residents know that it has to be 70s at least for the paint and the marking to begin. So
we'll get a report.
We should see it soon. Okay. Anything else? Move on to the next section of the agenda. We have petitions. There are property claims. Entertain a motion to send those to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Council Martin, second by Council Leahy. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion passes. That concludes the petition section. Oh, no, there's another petition. We have a petition by Patricia Bernard, being represented by attorney Daniel Tenza, requesting permission to connect to the City of Lowell sewer system at 136 Stedman Street, Chelmsford, Mass. Need a motion to send this to the Law Department as well for a report and recommendation. Motion by Council Kennedy, second by Council Belanger, to send this to the Law Department. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. That concludes the petition section. We'll move on to section 10.1, City Council motions. First motion of the evening by Council Leahy. Request city manager work with the Parks Department to prepare plan to replace picnic benches at Shed Park. Second by Council Martin, second, Council Leahy.
Thank you. We received an email from a Daniel Buckley that wanted to do something about these picnic tables on the Boylston Street side of Shed Park. This motion would ask that we work with the Parks Department to try to replace the wood on all the picnic tables. I have spoken to Commissioner Bellegarde about this. I was able to maybe secure some wood and the bolts that go with it to secure the wood to the tables with the help of the Mr. Buckley. So once the project, if it proceeds, it really won't cost us much in materials, but with the help of the Parks Department and donations from private companies, we'll be able to clean the park up, and it'll look beautiful for the summer and for the years to come. So, when we get these emails and we can respond to them, nothing but good comes out of it. So this was a good initiative by Mr. Buckley and his family. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, the motion passes. Next motion of the evening, also by Council Leahy, request Parks and Recreation Subcommittee meet to discuss replacing scoreboard at Colley Stadium. Second by Council Kennedy. Council Leahy?
Thank you. There was discussion last year after the track was put in at Colley Stadium to try to replace the scoreboard. There was a temporary one put up this year, so I just wanted to continue it and see if we can get a permanent scoreboard out there. So I thought if we could send this to the subcommittee to discuss it and get the appropriate people there, we'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Okay, could I make a suggestion, Councilor, or to you, Mr. Manager? I know there are some, this charitable organization in the city that has raised some money for a new scoreboard, so if we can include them, the All Charities.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I know that there's substantial money, and the headmaster is aware of this, so if they can be included, I think they'd be a great partner.
Yeah, we will. The whole key to it is trying to figure out the proper way to do it.
Right.
And Headmaster Martin is familiar with this when he was employed at the Songus Arena and throughout his career. So it's good that we want people to contribute, but there is a way to do it. I don't know what the word is, but there's a way to do it properly, I guess, and to make sure that it gets done. So, but we will include everybody in the discussion.
And we will find that way.
Sure.
There's people want to making donations, right? Council Belanger?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to speak in favor of the motion and allude to just exactly what you're talking about, some sort of corporate sponsor or contribution to help defray the cost of this sign, okay? I don't want to take money away from putting into parks, loom, and for a scoreboard, as important as it is, and it's very, very important. I think that there's got to be a way to get this out to RFP for a corporate sponsor to pay for the whole thing. I believe that this community is charitable enough to accomplish that. So that's the way I'd like the avenue. I'd like to be included in this process.
No, I think there are sponsors out there. It's just a matter of putting an equitable solution together so there's even competition. I think there's a lot of companies that would like to participate in this. So.
I'm sure there would be.
Great.
Very good, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All those, Councilor Samaras.
No, I'd just like to reiterate, I can't even speak, what you said, Mayor Elliott. As the former headmaster, there were a number of years we had new scoreboards. Competition at one time was very keen between Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, and they'd actually almost offer anything to get that signage. But I think you're correct, and Councilor Belanger is correct in looking for this, for corporate sponsorship. I mean, these are the times that we're in, or naming rights, whatever. But I think it should be put out as an offer to the community, and I think we'll get great responses. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Headmaster. Further discussion on this motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. We have next motion of the evening, again by Councilor Leahy. Request city manager have proper department explore possibility of installing traffic lights at the Broadway Street Bridge to allow back and forth traffic during renovations, and request NL pay for the installation and maintenance of these lights during this period. I'd like to second this motion, but second by Councilor Kennedy. Councilor Leahy, this is a good motion.
Thank you. This again just came up from people calling me. Seems like it's a losing battle trying to enforce that over there. People keep going across the bridge the wrong way, and maybe we could take a look at that and see if there's a way to set up lights. And of course, if we could have an L pay for it, that'd be the best solution. So if we could just take a look at that, explore the possibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. If there's no objection, I just want to add one comment. I think this makes all the sense in the world because of the traffic inconvenience and the length of time that bridge is going to be closed. I mean, it's heavily traveled, but allowing access back and forth another food pantry is terribly inconvenienced by this bridge closing, and it doesn't look like it's going to be fixed in the near future. So I support the motion. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion passes. Next motion of the evening by Councilor Samaras. Request city manager review the policies regarding security and city parking garages. Second by Councilor Rourke. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Elliott. I know we have security in our garages, but at nighttime, a garage is not a welcoming place, not only for the city of Lowell, but any city where there's a garage. Quite often, they're not lit well enough, and that's actually another issue. But for information to the public, do we have security that will walk a woman or anyone to their car or escort them to their car? And I don't think everybody's aware of that. And a number of people have talked to me about that and are concerned, especially late at night, coming home from the train, having to get their car or leaving a meeting late. What's the policy? Mr. Manager?
Mr. Manager?
Yes, we do have that policy where we have ambassadors available to escort someone to their cars. I think it might be a case that it's not advertised properly as it could be. So in response to this motion, we will be putting in motion a better advertising process for that service.
Thank you. That will help a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anything else on this? Seeing none, all those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed. Motion passes. Next motion of the evening, again by Councilor Samaras. Request city manager review availability of parking on Shattuck Street as it continues to be a one-way. Seconded by Councilor Belanger. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you. With the need for parking, I believe that Shattuck Street was made two ways. Some parking spots were lost. Now the question is that it's going to remain one way. Should we add some of those parking spots back? But what's interesting, when I made this motion, several people commented and saw this as worthwhile, while others saw that the possibility of even less parking spots for the beautification of that street because it's a cobblestone street, and would we look at it that way? But I think right now, with our need for parking in the downtown area, this should be considered at this point, or an evaluation given to us as to its greatest potential.
So thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion passes as well. Next motion of the evening, we have by 3 members of the council. We have by Council Kennedy, Council Leahy, and Council Samaras. The motion is request city manager arrange to provide city council with quarterly progress reports from Trinity Financial regarding Hamilton Canal District. No second necessary because there are 3 members sponsoring this. Gentlemen, who's going first? Council Kennedy.
Maybe we'll go alphabetically.
Sounds good.
Mr. Mayor, I think, through you to the manager, Mr. Manager, I think everybody on the city council is interested in seeing some sort of more progress than what there has been over at the Hamilton Canal District. And there also seems to be a lack of communication between Trinity Financial and the city council, probably Trinity Financial and the administration. And so I think that maybe what would be a good idea would be to have, and Council Samaras and Council Leahy agree with me because they're on this motion, to have a quarterly report from Trinity Financial as to what progress has been made. It would be a progress report that the council would receive every 3 months from them that would describe what type of progress and what type of initiatives they've taken to try to foster economic development in that area. Now, this is a quarterly report, but it does not mean that the first report, that we need to wait 3 months for the first report. I would think that the first report would come from Trinity Financial rather quickly, within a 2-week time, and that then we would get quarterly reports. I think that progress reports like this do a couple of things. First of all, I think they explain to the council if there are difficulties or hurdles to get over in order for there to be more progress in terms of economic development in that area, then those quarterly reports can report that. At the same time, on the other side of the coin, if there has been no progress for several quarters or for a quarter or 2, then that would be in the report. I guess the report would be rather thin. But I think that it's important, if we're going to be serious about economic development in that area, then I think it's time that we hold Trinity Financial to the fire a little bit. And so I think one way of doing that is to have these quarterly reports. And furthermore, I think that it also provides a direct communication between the City Council and Trinity Financial, rather than to be going through you, which there's no problem with doing that, Mr. Manager, but I think the direct communication can only be healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Leahy.
Thank you. I think Councilor Kennedy said it all. We just want to know what's happening over there, what the progress is going to be, when we can expect some movement. So these quarterly reports should open everybody's eyes to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. And Council Samaras.
Thank you. Councilor Kennedy stated most of it, but the thing is, the Hamilton project is one of our most important projects in the city. And if we're to have a direction as a city, we need to hear from Trinity Financial. It's as simple as that. But also, as a council, what steps should we take to support any growth at this area? So I think this is the type of information that we need. And perhaps the report should go directly to the Subcommittee on Economic Development, so there can be a true question and answer period to respond to some of these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For starters, I do want to thank my colleagues for bringing this up once again to the table, but I'm going to, in the name of teamwork, if you will, and partnerships, I'm going to support the motion, but I think I've made it abundantly clear that I'm not pleased with this developer. Things have been stagnant there for quite a while. Since the Appleton Mills was complete, which is 130 residential units, approximately 6 years ago, nothing has been done since. So if we're going to communicate with this, at this point, the door is open with me. Again, I'm only one vote out of 9. The door is open a crack. But if we're going to reach out and communicate with them, then I want to see benchmarks for progress. I want to see deadlines when shovels are going to be in the ground, okay? If they want to come and say, we'll have shovels in the ground within a year, then by all means, let's work together. If not, then I think we should go our separate ways. It's been far too long. This is far too an important parcel for not only the downtown, for the city. This is a plethora of commercial buildings, which is obviously a higher tax rate, which helps ease the burden on residential taxes. And this project is very, very important to that. So all in all, I put my confidence in the manager to reach out to. I chair the Economic Development Subcommittee. There's been no outreach to me. I know that in my course of a little under a year and a half here. And I know full well that this corporation in particular is doing quite well across the Commonwealth on other projects. And I think that's great. But I'm concerned about the city of Lowell. And to partner up my colleagues, I'll support the motion. But, Mr. Manager, I'd like you to I want you to come back with benchmarks and deadlines. That's the only thing that's going to satisfy me with keeping this developer as a partner in the city of Lowell. That's where I'm at with this, and not much better than that. I do appreciate, again, to my colleagues, I do support it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews, the manager. What's the current relationship between the city and Trinity now? I know they looked for an extension a little while back, weren't they?
Yes, they were looking for an extension. They're out of contract right now. I'm actually meeting with him, not next week, but the week after, to discuss his relationship with the city and where we go from here. So I'll have a better report in probably 3 weeks as to where we proceed with Trinity.
Is there anything stopping you now from looking outside Trinity for other developers to come in?
I've been talking to other people. We've talked to other entities about locating at the Hamilton Canal. We still have a couple of things. The good news is we have Secretary Jay Ash coming up here May 22nd, and possibly the Lieutenant Governor, to tour the Hamilton Canal District in the hopes of getting a MassWorks grant from the state delegation to provide the infrastructure, which will open up that Dutton Street area to development. So that's the good news, where the state delegation has coordinated a meeting with us for May 22nd. So I feel that's real progress on the Hamilton Canal.
Is there any update on the land swap to get the garage up and running?
That's a work in progress, and we're actually working with that also. We may be able to reconfigure the parking garage, so we may not need the land swap. That's something we're working on right now, but that's another thing that would be down the road. We really can't even do any of that until we get the infrastructure in the area.
Great, thank you.
So, Mr. Manager, will you have an update on the LRTA issue? I was with Congresswoman Tsongas today, and I know that she went through a thorough briefing with all of us, and she was asking for an update. So I told her I know that there was a motion on the agenda, and when you can get an update, it would be appreciated. Yeah.
Yes, we've actually come up with 3 different proposals to park the buses on the Hale Street property of the LRTA. I'm meeting with Diane Trad from the DPD on Friday to finalize which makes most sense.
She did indicate she cannot move forward. She's eager to move forward, but she needs that piece in place, right? Okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, one more question for the manager. So when you meet with Trinity, if you don't like what you hear, because they're out of contract, you can just pull out altogether, right?
Yeah, but I would like, I do think we need a developer for the area. We've been trying to do it ourselves. I think we've had great success with some businesses, but I think on a long-term basis, we're going to need a developer. So I'm willing to sit and talk to him in 2 weeks and talk about tightening up those deadlines so that they're not so set out way in advance, see if we can get something going now and see if they're willing to do that.
Great, thank you. Councilor Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one more question. Councilor Rourke brought up some great points. Now, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the manager now. Mr. Manager, Have we received other interested parties in this parcel to this point, may I ask, without disclosing names and whatnot?
Mr. Manager?
Yes, I'm sorry. Through you, May, yes. We've,
Okay, well, that's-
we've received, obviously, we've talked about one local business that may locate their corporate headquarters there.
Yep.
We've had another company come to us that wants to build a parking garage there. Whether that one is economically feasible, we're still looking into, but there is interest that we've been working with over there.
Okay, well, that's great news, Mr. Manager. We'll get something going there sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion passes. Last motion of the evening by Councilor Kennedy, request city manager have LRTA provide a report regarding handicap accesses to buses. Second by Councilor Belanger. Councilor Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, once again, to the city manager. Mr. Manager, this motion was, I put this motion in at the request of a frequent rider. Glad I only have to say that one time. Who uses a walker. And they contend that the LRTA buses are not as handicap-friendly as the UMass Lowell buses. And so they wondered whether or not the LRTA could purchase or be fitted with the same type of handicap mechanism that the UMass Lowell buses have. So I guess what I'd like to see in this report from the LRTA was a comparison of the two different vehicles and why one might be better than the other, and also whether or not the LRTA has plans to purchase buses in the near future, and how that schedule goes for them. If they don't plan to purchase buses in the near future, they certainly must plan to purchase them at some time, and so it would be good to have that schedule of when they do that. So that's basically what this motion's about.
Mr. Manager?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. There were a couple of other motions relative to the LRTA issues that have been referred to the Transportation Subcommittee, which is going to be meeting, I believe it's May 19th, and Jim Scanlon from the LRTA is going to be present to answer questions about ridership and whatnot. Can I make a suggestion that this be referred to that subcommittee, and we'll have him address this issue that evening relative to the handicap access?
I think that's probably a good idea, Mr. Manager, but and probably concurrently to the Disability Commission as well, so that so that they can be on top of the issue too.
Was that a motion by Mr. Manager?
So if there's no objection, I'd like to amend the motion to have it referred to the Disability Commission and to that subcommittee. But then we still would be getting some sort of a written report from the LRTA, I would assume. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure the Commission on Disability would appreciate that, and Councilor Leahy can carry that message right over there as a liaison. So, motion to amend by Councilor Kennedy, seconded by Councilor Belanger, to refer this both to the Transportation Subcommittee and the Commission on Disability. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and opposed. Motion carries. Motion as amended. Councilor, on the motion?
Councilor Samaras made a motion to refer Kennedy's, Leahy's to the Economic Development Subcommittee. Did we vote on that?
That was a suggestion that we do that. I'd like to
Okay.
make it into a motion that the report be made to the Subcommittee on Economic Development.
So I didn't think we followed through, Mr. Mayor, so.
Okay. I am sorry. On 10.6. Okay, my apologies. That's my mistake. Why don't we dispose of this one, then we'll go back and refer that. You're talking about 10.6 Hamilton Canal referred to the Economic Development Subcommittee?
Correct.
Okay, that was my mistake. So on this motion to accept as amended by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Kennedy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the opposed, motion carries. Reverting back to 10.6. My apologies. Motion to refer this issue to the Economic Development Subcommittee by
Correct.
Councilor Samaras.
Report to be made to the Subcommittee on Economic Development.
Yes, Economic Development by Council Samaras, second by Councilor Rourke. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. Thank you, Council, for bringing that to my attention. Anything further? This concludes the agenda and business before the City Council tonight as advertised. Councilor Leahy?
Thank you. Could I suspend the rules to ask about the Suffolk Street Bridge?
Motion to suspend the rules by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Belanger, for the purpose to bring in an item not on the agenda, and the purpose of the item is the status of the closure of the Suffolk Street Bridge. Does it require a roll call? All those in favor of suspending signify by saying aye, and the opposed, motion carries. Does not require a roll call. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Through you to the manager. Could we just get an update on that as far as, it sounds like they're just doing temporary fixes over there, but could you ask them what that means? Like, why aren't they just redoing the whole bridge at this point? And what, is it a 10-year fix, 5-year fix, or, just for the benefit of the city, so we don't have to go through this again in the near future? Thank you.
Mr. Manager, I appreciate the update that you did send out for the Suffolk Street closure of the bridge. I'm sure you're going to be sending notices out to, or communications out to the public, but that bridge is going to be closed anywhere from 2 to 4 months. Is that right?
2 to 3 months is
2 to
what
3 months?
NL tells us.
Okay. It's completely closed, so there'll be no traffic to go over there?
Just the pedestrian walkway.
Okay. All right. Well, now the public knows. Thank you, Council. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilor Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras. All those in favor signify by saying aye, and the opposed, that motion carries. This meeting stands adjourned.